What induced it? Well, I don't know.
Well, yes. When Stanislav Grof basically did a lot of research with LSD, but at some point it was very abused by the hippie communities in the States and all around the world, and then it became illegal. And it became drug, a very dangerous drug and all that. So he developed another way of how to induce the states for healing purposes. And it became a very famous healing modality. It's called holotropic breathwork.
Wow.
What it does is that people gather, there is a facilitator, and people lie down. Half of the people, you have a partner, and you take care of the partner, and then he takes care of you. So in a period of 3 hours, you lie down, the partner takes care of you, and then we have a facilitator, and they start playing loud music, very interesting, beautiful music, like, and you start doing rapid breathing without break. Circular breathing. So it means you don't breathe and make a break. And actually you make... That's a circular breathing, without a break. If you try that for 5 minutes, you might start experiencing your ankles, your wrists are going to start getting like this. It's a very dangerous thing according to modern medicine, but it's not. It's not dangerous. It can happen, but they can, like, it happened to me during this breathing to get all like this. You can really, like, you really get clenched, but then it just lets go. It lets go.
Kind of a fetal position.
Fetal position can happen, like, and when it happens, it's really fascinating. Like my partner, I didn't experience fetal. Like my partner, she really re-experienced the birth, and when that happens, the facilitator brought big pillows, and she said, press from this side, and now press from this side. And she was like going through this struggle. I didn't know that she's going through that, but she knew. I mean, that's her work, that's her job. So she told me to press on one side, and she pressed on the other side. And then this woman started struggling and struggling and struggling. And at one moment, she just started hitting like, "Whoa!" and then just shouted. And it was very fascinating moment because she obviously had that breakthrough. So LSD absolutely not necessary for these things. They can be induced by breathing, by different types of breathing practice, completely without any additional outside substance.
And when Stanislav Grof took the LSD, did he take a very high dosage?
He discovered that high dosages are not so important. If they're done in nature, like for example, I think they usually would administer up to 300 micrograms. Micrograms. This is microgram. I don't know. It's not milligram.
Right.
不是公克，不是毫克，是
a grain of sand.
Yeah,
Smaller than a grain of
microgram.
sand.
A million part. 100,000,000. Right? So, 100,000,000,000 Yes. Yeah. So they take this much, and basically, so he discovered that if done in nature, it's 3 times, like usually in the office would take 300 micrograms. In nature, it would take 100 for the same effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
How to control? You use LSD in medicine.
Yeah. No.
That's the problem with modern medicine.
Yeah.
They think it's drug. They think how to control it and become like a means for healing in the future, for example.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, how to control the usage of LSD or any other psychedelic entheogenic substance for purpose of healing instead of being abused by... Actually, I think it's very dangerous for young people to take LSD and go to a discotheque. And all that alcohol and all, like these things are being ingested in a completely sacred environment. Fasting, purification, with loving surrounding, where you're completely protected, and then you can go deeper. But imagine you have this cold thing with drunk faces, and like they all go like, it can be very traumatic. People have gone crazy. Yeah. So people have gone crazy. This should be done in a very appropriate atmosphere.
Is that answering the question?
Not exactly.
Not exactly.
Can you
Well,
rephrase it?
well, just like
How to control, if you feel a patient. If you
Well,
feel a patient,
yeah.
you give LSD, and then what's the procedure?
okay, well you don't give LSD like you give antidepressant, taking this 3 times a day in the morning and after lunch. You take LSD before an actual session, and the session lasts for 6-7 hours. You spend your whole day doing an actual session, going through that. And then you go home and you don't take it ever again. That's it. Some people only once. It takes only once and you never have to take it again. Like in one of his books, like Stanislav Grof, he describes terminal cases, people who are terminally ill, people who will die from cancer. They're completely hopeless. And they have taken, okay, so they want to make, they're very terrified about it. They're very scared. I'm going to die. What am I going to do? They had a session, only one session. And it just completely, the fear of death, the whole thing, like, the whole attitude towards death can change. Because they have moved, like they have experienced these fears, they had these profound transpersonal experiences, and they become transformed. Like the experience of pain also gets transformed. Sometimes even during doctors get surprised. So to answer your question, you don't take LSD like that. It's a thing that you only take for a session. You cannot take it every day and be in hallucinations and high all the time. Like I think some hippies had that, but yeah. Anyways.
More questions?
Yes.
Do you have more time?
How long does ayahuasca last? Like you take that and stuff and they
Ayahuasca?
Yeah, ayahuasca. Yeah, that's it.
The thing with ayahuasca is that, you see, the first time Jeremy Narby had an experience, what he felt so very strong, powerful thing, like his head is cracking. And he said that in the fissures of those cracks, he could see the bottomless pit of his own arrogance.
What?
Of his own arrogance as a Westerner. Like, when you figure out that these people know so much, they have such an amazing, enormous knowledge that is completely endangered. We will lose one of the biggest libraries ever in the world by destroying the indigenous forest and their knowledge and changing the biggest, like it's very big pity. Because we can't see it. We don't have the eyes to see what they see. So, in his first session, he really didn't have much experience. He just realized that he is very arrogant, that he's completely, and that happened to many people. Ayahuasca, the indigenous say, do not necessarily reveals itself to you unless you are humble enough to receive what you have to receive.
So in a way, it's possible that it gives you what it thinks you need right at that moment. And it could last a short time or it could last a long time.
And mentioning this, there are also some shamans that can abuse the knowledge of ayahuasca. They can go into those realms and abuse it, for different kind of stuff. So they already gained access to the other world. So for them, the door is open, so they can go through.
Is it similar to salvia? Salvia?
Salvia divinorum is another plant. Yeah, they both contain dimethyltryptamine, that chemical that is apparently working in ayahuasca as well. Yeah. Yeah, but the thing there's so many different psychedelic plants and substances, or sometimes they take them from fish, from toads, or whatever. There are many different types, and they all work on seemingly different parts of our brain, of our body, or like the African Iboga, as I mentioned. Like it invokes feelings of repentance. And it purifies the person through that repentance from the guilt, and it makes them better people. If they don't go through that, they're not even people. They're not human beings if they haven't actually gone through this process of deep repentance.
More questions?
Yeah.
So the perinatal state, but after that, the state which
The transpersonal.
it seems there's very different kinds
Very different, yeah.
of
Endless.
experiences you can have after that state.
Yes.
I don't know which stage you experience.
Myself, I experienced past lives.
Okay.
Yeah, I experienced past life. I saw a dead body lying on the ground, like after some battlefield. And as I kept breathing, like I was getting closer, but I didn't know what it is. It seemed like something like after battle. As I kept breathing, like the distance decreased, and in one moment, it seems like I went inside the body. And in that very moment, when I lost perspective of observer, it's like I went from inside. Literally, my hands went like this, like the whole stress became, and it lasted for a few minutes, and after that, it's released. But I was crying. There was so much guilt. There was so much very, very deep guilt feelings about me doing the wrong thing, about something to do with that battle where I died. And yeah, I felt kind of high after that for days. Yeah, it was a very deep experience for me.
We have time for one more question, one more short question, and then we'll move on to the. I mean, we've got obviously the world is not ending. We've got unlimited time, so we can move outside and continue this. So, anyone have another question? If not, you can ask another question, but I just want to make sure everyone gets something to say. No? Go ahead.
Okay. My final question is there any rule or have they found any kind of factor which influences what kind of final, EMP experience you have from that? You know, why is it so different? Like your partner, did she have the same past life experience?
No, of course not.
But you were in the same environment.
Right. Well, Stanislav Grof, he says that there is like an inner healing radar in our consciousness, which will bring out what needs to be healed. So everybody has different history, everybody's different being, and what comes out in their consciousness during the induction of these states, it's related to their own specific case. The facilitator doesn't cure, it just provides space for the healing to happen. You are not doing anything but besides providing the sacred space where people actually, whatever comes out becomes integrated back into their mind. So what I wanted to say was basically why I mentioned these two guys, because I think these states have actual objective value. Just like Amazonian shamans, just to conclude my lecture actually, just as Amazonian shamans found out that they can actually attune to the biosphere of life, these states are not just a personal hallucination. They actually have a real impact. They have real substance to them. Just like the indigenous have been seeing them for thousands of years. The problem is we don't know how to deal with them, and we just suppress them. Yeah.
Sadly. Sadly, we've come to the end of our hour, so we need to wrap up.